The Halos are terrible on the field, and their drama off the field, and the fans of the Angels are the best around. Let's talk about it all. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by Sleeper. You can swing for the fences on Sleeper Picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Just download the Sleeper app right now and use our promo code Locked On, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. There are some terms and conditions that do apply. You can see Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, happy Monday to you. We've been fans of this team for years. Mike, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything to talk about from over the weekend? I was sitting here thinking, and there's lots to talk about from over the weekend.
A whole lot of drama.
The biggest thing is that it wasn't even the play on the field that was the biggest topic of discussion over the weekend. Listen, we are so glad that you were here. Thank you for being a Locked On everydayer. We're going to recap all three games, of course, against the Tigers, but we've got to talk about what happened with Shohei Ohtani, and we've got to talk about what happened with Anthony Rendon, all of which came out over the course of Friday and Saturday. Mike, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, the news came fast and furious about Ohtani first this weekend. We got news on Friday that he nearly cleared out his locker, and so everybody was freaking out. Sarah Valenzuela and Jeff Fletcher and Sam Blum were all like, his locker's kind of empty. What's going on? And when asked, the Halos said, we'll address it tomorrow. We're not ready to talk about it. And it was like, oh, okay. The greatest player of all time, the Bo Jackson of our generation, right? Like, you're not going to talk about why there's, just a stick of gum in his locker room. Like, you're going to wait till tomorrow. And I know that people are like, well, I think they wanted to set up a press conference, all that good stuff. Sure. But a statement would have been nice. We'll get into that in just a minute. So here's what Perry said the next day. He said, Shohei got an MRI that showed that he still has some irritation in his oblique and he needed to shut it down. After getting the results around the first inning, they started packing up his locker. And Perry said the reason was Shohei went into what's next mode. He started to prepare for the procedure that he's going to have on his elbow as well. Perry also said he's not sure what the procedure will be, but he knows that there's going to be a procedure. And Ohtani will actually be with the team on the final homestand this season. We know that he was in the dugout over this last weekend as well. Johnny, Angels PR just can't get out of their own way.
Yes.
Right? I mean, to not talk about this immediately I was going to say a bit unwise. It's unwise fully. Like it's
not unwise.
Yeah. Hey, got that. You're not even a dad. That was a good dad joke. But the reality is that communication is not a strong point for the Angels. And what we're learning about the Angels, and maybe we just needed it to hit us in the face this weekend, is that the Angels communicate when it's convenient for the Angels, right?
Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. Yes. Of course, Ohtani got his locker ready. You and I tweeted from Locked On Angels. We said, hey, you know what? This is really sad, but it probably means that he's going to go take care of the procedure and da-da-da-da-da. But Mike, the speculation ran wild.
Yeah.
And that's all on Angels PR for not getting out in front of this. Like, obviously they all had a plan of, yeah, you know what, Shohei, it sounds like probably needed to shut it down for the season. Like, they all knew what was happening. They all knew what was going on. And then the fact that the beat writers essentially discovered his locker like that, everybody made a big deal of the water bottle in the trash. And I'm like, what else was in Shohei's trash? I wonder. What was in there. We should make that a whole segment. But then
what was in Shohei's trash?
But it's hilarious to me that, like, you didn't think that was going to be a big deal, guys.
Exactly. Like nobody thought, you know what? We're going to have Sam and Sarah and Jeff in here, and we're going to have other people in here. We're going to have Erica Weston in here. And this locker is going to be empty. We should at least prep Phil Nevin. We should at least prep somebody. We should at least give out a statement, like tweet out something so that people know what's actually going on. Because honestly, it just looks like a mess. And that's what this organization has proven to us.
Oh,
this season.
It doesn't look like a mess, Michael. It is a mess.
It is a mess.
We've seen that not just in 2023, but 22 and 21 and the past decade and a half, my friend. And what you just said, nobody thought.
Yeah.
That's the Angels in 2023.
You're right. And to not have somebody on your team that's thinking about that stuff is irresponsible, in my opinion. And I know that there are people that are like, well, it's not our business and all of those things. I hear you. But honestly, I'm a fan. And when the greatest player of all time on our team is not with the team or his locker is empty and he's going to be a free agent,
right?
I'm a bit curious about that.
Excuse me for being curious when I have a shirt with Ohtani's face all over it.
Right,
like I'm just a tad curious.
I bought tickets to come and see this guy. How come he hasn't been in the lineup? And the other part that really does them in is, yeah, he has this oblique issue, but we're going to test him out each day and we're going to see what happens. And we'll mention this in segment 2 with Rendon. But honestly, this is what the Angels do. It's just the epitome of, yeah, he'll be okay in a couple of days, and then suddenly, yeah, his head fell off and we had to put him on the IL. Like
his head fell off.
He was real old. But the truth is, Johnny, like this is it's just messy, and there is no leadership in this organization, and just in communication. You saw it, you felt it this weekend, and they allowed fans to go nuts. And I think that actually gives
not just fans either.
Right. They let everybody go nuts. Right. But I think it's the epitome of this team. They've made it very, very clear to us who they are and who they're not, John. I think the team has told us that their priority, because of what they've said, because of what they've shown us, is A, to make money, B, to sign a star, to make it look like we're competitive, i.e. Anthony Rendon, i.e. Josh Hamilton, i.e. Albert Pujols, right? And then their job is to communicate when it's convenient. Yeah, we'll tell you. We'll talk to you when we have time. We'll talk like that.
We'll choose who to talk to, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. And then if you're a bit negative, we're not going to let you around. We're not going to let you talk because we know that we've really messed this team up. Or maybe they don't know that they've messed this team up. Maybe they are that naive to the situation. But do you agree? Like those seem like the priorities of this team right now. And for the last 10 years, honestly.
Yeah, and it all comes down to Artie Moreno and the people he's chosen to surround himself with, and John Carpino and Dennis Kuhl and those guys. I mean, he's not cool. I said this a million times, Mike. Congratulations, guys! You turned this into a marketing machine. You've done everything you could possibly do to make money and milk every dollar out of this franchise, except play winning baseball.
Yeah,
which is the most lucrative of all of it. If you had a winning team, your season wouldn't be ending in September. You'd be selling playoff tickets throughout the month of October for quadruple the prices, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very clear where their priorities are. It's not the fans, it's not winning, and it's not the future.
Right.
I was going to say, Mike, Angels PR gets in their own way when you've got stories like from Mark Carrig of The Athletic, who said Shohei ghosted him and there was no ceremony and he got out of there and da-da-da-da-da. Now, total bogus story because Ohtani was in the dugout the very next day. And I actually like Mark Carrig. I listened to his show on the Athletic podcast, and he does a roundtable show. And most of the opinions he has, I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. And so for him to write that, I don't blame him because that's the story that was out there. And the Angels didn't get in front of any of it.
Right. Perception is reality. We will always fill the gap with what we think until you fill the gap and communicate to us what the reality is. And perception always is going to be the reality. And the media has always, not necessarily local media, but the national media has always made it Shohei versus the Angels. Get him off this team because they don't want to win and he wants to win, right? It's always been Shohei and Mike Trout against the Angels. And stuff like this, not getting out in front of it, is going to only feed the monster. It's going to feed the beast. Perception is going to be reality. So I don't blame people going, what is this? What's going on? When you have crickets that are coming from Anaheim, then there's nothing to fill the gap with except with your own thoughts. And then to have Perry sit in front of the media and say, well, nothing nefarious happened. And it wasn't like Shohei wasn't being, no. We don't think Shohei was being mean. We think you guys don't know what you're doing. That's what we think. This isn't a Shohei problem. This is an Angels problem.
Yeah. When Dylan Hernandez of the LA Times is the voice of reason this weekend with the article that he wrote.
Talk about a paradigm shift, right?
Yeah, something's wrong. The Angels are playing the Rays at 3:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast at SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, we're going to give you all the details of the Anthony Rendon saga. Believe it or not, there was drama before the Shohei stuff, and we're going to get into all of that from this weekend coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Jace Medical. We know that modern medical care and treatment is really important, but often what we've learned is that our global supply chains can be really fragile, and going through a pandemic and natural disasters and foreign travel being cut off can actually keep the treatment that you need from getting to you. And that's why Jace Medical is your solution. You just need to fill out their online form, and one of their board certified physicians will review it and then determine what medications are safe and appropriate for you. And then they're going to send your prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies where your Jace order will be filled and mailed directly to your home. And not only that, but then they can send messages to a physician, and you can message back and forth for answers on treatment-related questions at any time. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones, especially during the unexpected. That's why the Jace Medical Group offers the Jace case, and you can save actually $360 by getting this life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 using our promo code LOCKEDON when you check out at jacemedical.com. That's jacemedical.com, JASE medical.com.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, the Angels are playing the Rays tomorrow at 3:40 Pacific time. They'll be out there at the Tropicana. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
Johnny, I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm sure Angel fans have seen it, but have you seen the meme that says, I want a man that doesn't play games? And then there's a picture of Anthony Rendon underneath there, right? Made me chuckle, made me laugh. So we got news about Anthony that we've been waiting to hear because we had no idea what's going on with him. He finally talked to the media. He actually does speak English, even though he said no habla inglés not too many weeks ago. And he said that he has a fractured tibia.
What?
This whole time you've had extra gloves this whole time? I mean, that was huge news.
You just referenced Dumb and Dumber. I just referenced Mrs. Doubtfire. The whole time. He
said he found out that he had this fracture a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there's a few lines in this that caught me and stirred me up a bit.
Come on, let's go.
First, he said he doesn't know why the Angels didn't announce that. I mean, we just talked about their communication issues. We'll get to more on that in a second.
Right.
Rendon then said he was diagnosed after getting a second opinion, and that's why he's been out so long. He's just now started some baseball activities.
Hold on.
Scott Boras. Oh, yeah,
not just a second opinion, Mike. A fifth opinion. There were 5 doctors involved in it. How many doctors does it take to screw in a light bulb and diagnose Anthony Rendon's tibia fracture? 5 is the answer.
That's the equation. Scott Boras, his agent, was interviewed as well, and he said further imaging came on his own. It came on his own. Like, Anthony had to go and do this, right? Like, so he was feeling some discomfort, so they actually pursued more doctors. And he said the treatment is the same for a fracture or a bone bruise. Also said that the doctors and the Angels medical staff have been in line with his treatment plan, denying that there's any disconnect between the two sides. Gosh, certainly doesn't look like that or sound like that, right? And then here's the part that really kind of put it over the top for me. When asked about his plans on playing next season, shout out to Sam Blum. Sam asked that question. Mm-hmm. Good on him. Rendon was non-committal, merely saying that he's taking it day by day, and then asked why he didn't speak out sooner in order to combat public perception from fans who questioned his desire to play. Rendon said, I don't care. They don't know the facts. Johnny, your thoughts?
We don't know the facts because we're not getting any information at all. Not from you, Tony Two Bags, not from Phil Nevin, not from the medical staff, not from PR. So that last comment, Mike, I don't care. They don't know the facts because no one's talking to the fans.
Right.
Nobody's talking. You know, he had another cute comment about he's contemplating retirement. the last 10 years. And obviously his career started just a little over 10 years ago. So that's another little quip from Anthony Rendon. But as we stated on the last segment, I mean, the Angels have made it clear that updating fans is not a priority.
Right.
Again, excuse me as a fan who literally watches every single other team, all other 29 teams in the league, give medical updates and information and stuff. Nobody's holding anything back because they think the line of questioning is going to be too negative. It's oh, we just don't want to go there. That's just too negative. Well, you know what? There's a lot of negative things to talk about the Angels. You want to start with the mayor scandal, the land scandal, the backdoor dealing scandal. You want to start there. You want to start with Tyler Skaggs and the employee who caused him the end of his life. You want to talk about that? We're not even touching that. So you want to go negative? We can go negative. All we're trying to find out is what's going on with the third baseman you signed for $38 million a year, everybody. So
making more than Trout, making more than Ohtani.
right. Yearly, making more than each of those guys. And this is another example, Mike, of he'll be out a couple of games and then he should be good. And we're taking it day by day. And then again, their head falls off. And that's what this is. I'm just going to start referring to every injury on the Angels. Well, his head fell off now. Yeah. So he won't be playing anymore.
And super glue didn't hold it. So we're working on getting new super glue.
Right. And we see this now with Ohtani and now Rendon. And Rendon doesn't do anything to endear himself to the fan base. And it's funny because there was a lot of comments about this over the weekend. And you and I have admitted we've defended Anthony Rendon. Because 2021, he had the hip issues. It's like, well, you can't play if you've got hip issues. Last year was the wrist issue. It's like, well, you can't play if you've got a wrist issue. And I understand the injuries are freak injuries. They're accidental. They're things that are out of anybody's control. I understand that. But you know where he lost me, and I think he lost you too, was with the cute and folksy comments. I'm not here. I'm on the dead list. No habla inglés. You know who didn't do that? Logan O'Hoppe. O'Hoppe said, I got 2 more months of rehab, but I want to get out there and play tomorrow. That's how badly I want to be out there. Zach Neto, who was on the IL with back issues, couldn't wait to come back and play. That's the difference. You've got this 33-year-old guy who has not endeared himself to the fans at all, trying to support him, and then he turns on the fans. He turns on them. And then you have guys like Logan O'Hoppe and Zach Neto who can't wait to get out. Give me 10 Zach Netos and 10 Logan O'Hoppes every single day of the week, Mike. I'll choose that 100 times over one Anthony Rendon because of the attitude at the very least.
Yeah, and we defended him to a point when he had that issue with the fan in Oakland at the beginning of the year. We talked about how you can't touch the fans, and that was where he crossed the line. But to be able to address the fans who are calling them names and such, like that's a moment where I think a player should be able to say, hey, knock it off, shut your mouth, or maybe get security. And we thought maybe this would be a moment where he can step up and be a leader. We saw that in the brawl with the Mariners last year. He was right in front, like protecting his boys. But what we're discovering is that Anthony Rendon is strange. Like, he's a bit strange.
Weird dude.
He's a bit weird, right? And so, quite honestly, like, I would love to see him be successful because I love this team and I want him to be successful. And I would love to see him be a leader. But what he has shown us in this last year is something that I've never seen before from him. And we've had some Nationals fans who have jumped into our comments and have messaged us and have said, like, Rendon was a bit strange when he was in Washington, but winning solves a lot of this, right? When you're actually a good team and you're winning and your culture is good, then some of this nonsense just doesn't bubble to the surface because you don't want to be the guy that's that guy. You want to be the guy that is moving the train forward, that's leaning into the culture. That's the problem with this team, Johnny. There's no culture that is healthy. The culture's terrible. The culture's awful. And that's on leadership. That's from top down. We talk about Artie all the time, but it's also from Phil Nevin. It doesn't seem like anybody on this team has any sort of desire to actually perform and make money and put their contract to good use and put their skills to good use. It feels like a lot of these guys on this team are just making excuses. And when I say that, I know it's my opinion. And when I say that, I'm not talking about everybody, but Rendon being allowed to behave this way is stupid. It's stupid, John.
It's dumb at the end of the day. And I don't want it around guys like Shohei Ohtani and Neto and Logan O'Hoppe.
No.
That's why you and I say DFA him. Eat
Right.
the contract. You've done it before. You had to ship off Hamilton. You had to ship off Vernon Wells. Like, you've done it before, and you need to do it again, because if this is the attitude that's going to sink the ship of the Angels even further than it's already been sank, then he needs to be far and away from the players who actually add value to this team.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Sleeper. You can swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. All you have to do is choose between 2 or more players and decide if they will overperform or underperform in the stat categories. It's like fantasy, but it's a whole lot better. And if you're a football fan, you can certainly plan on looking at somebody who throws maybe 1 touchdown versus 3 touchdowns, or somebody who catches 2 touchdowns versus maybe 3 touchdowns, like maybe somebody on the 49ers named Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. Niner fans, it's kind of nice that it's football season right now, right? You can get your picks right and win big. Sleeper works really quickly as well. Entries can be made in 30 seconds or less, and there are safe and fast withdrawals on all payouts. Download the Sleeper app today, and when you do, use our promo code LOCKEDON at sign up, and you can get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Check out Sleeper today.
Hey, were there games this weekend?
That's right. We're going to recap.
That's right. We got to talk about those games against the Tigers. Well, you know what? We'll give you a rundown of the highlights and the lowlights. And here's what happened on Friday night, Mike. The Angels lost 11-2. Griffin Canning could not find it, man. He just did not have the location. However, somehow he was able to power through 6 innings. What happened was
which I appreciated.
Yeah. He actually, tried to finish the job as best he could. But really, he could not locate his fastball at all. He allowed 4 runs on 8 hits and a walk over 6 innings. Jonathan Diaz came in and allowed 7 runs in the 8th inning. He threw 42 pitches, and Phil Nevin just kind of let him do it. He just kind of let that happen. And I loved this. Sam Blum tweeted that the boos here are as loud as I've ever heard them this year. Good on you, Angel fans, for letting them know and leaving Jonathan Diaz out there to dry like that. Good grief. So that was the end result. Little Walshamania in his return. He hit a home run. David Fletcher poked one into the left field corner, as he does. He barely gets it over the wall, so that was cool to see. And then some more good news. Joe Adell had a rehab game on Friday. He had 5 at-bats, 3 hits, 1 home run, and 2 RBIs. And the funny thing is he played a couple of innings at each outfield position, which I thought was interesting as well. Also, I know we had this discussion on Friday. Kyron Paris and not Jeremiah Jackson. Kyron Paris and Jordan Adams were back with the big club again. So it was after Mike Moustakas went on the IL. And so they were able to add those guys back to the roster. So that's what happened on Friday.
Saturday's game was probably the most exciting game, but it wasn't exciting until it came down to the bottom of the 9th. So Walsh hits a 2-run home run. Yeah. Suddenly he's back. He's making
clutch.
Really consider, like, hey, is this guy healthy? And gosh, if he's healthy, my goodness, he could actually be a really huge asset.
And he played right field that night too.
And he did play right field. And he looks comfortable out there. He was sliding. There was one play where it looked as if he didn't know what to do, and whoever was playing center field, I think, was it Kyron Paris? Somebody was playing center field and came over and backed him up, which was great. But Walsh had a moment where he kind of got turned around. But then there was another play where he was sliding and he stopped the ball from getting by him. And so he looked really good out there. And then Brett Phillips suddenly has Powerade. He's drinking Powerade, right?
I guess he added muscle while he was down in AAA. They said he added about 15, 20 pounds of muscle over the course of the season. I'm like,
what happens if you don't cut your hair, right? That's why your hair's long, right?
Exactly.
The Samson effect. And so Phillips hits a game-tying home run over the right field
down
wall.
To the last strike, man.
Yeah.
Last
with
strike.
2 outs, it was great. And then we go to the top of the 10th, and the Manfred runner is on, and the Tigers get that runner over on a Cabrera RBI single, and the Angels can't really do anything after that, and they lose this game. And Tyler Anderson, he struggled again in this game. He had 5 walks in this game, and that's been his Achilles heel, right? Been his Achilles heel. The only thing that we can really highlight in this game that was something that we can celebrate for the future is Nolan Shawnuel hits his first major league home run. Yeah. And so quieted the doubters who were like, well, he doesn't have any power. Listen, we need somebody who's going to get on base and who's going to get hits when it's necessary. And he has been that guy that has done that. By the way, this loss eliminated the Angels from any sort of postseason contention. We knew that they were eliminated, but this was
Really?
the official elimination. And then we moved
We didn't
to
make
Sunday.
it?
We didn't make it. Talk about Sunday, Johnny.
Come on. Hey, speaking of Nolan Schanuel, he extended the on-base streak to 22 on Sunday.
Yep.
So that's among some of the longest to start their career, Mike. In fact, Christopher Morel from the Cubs did that last year. He got the 22. Nolan's is still active, so there's a chance he could surpass that. The longest here is 47 games from Alvin Davis for the Mariners. That's pretty cool.
Classic name for you, Alvin Davis. I think I have a Topps baseball card of Alvin Davis.
Probably in there somewhere. Hey, Detmers was sick in this one, and so it ended up turning into a bullpen game. Jimmy Herget opened it up. Kenny Rosenberg came in. Unfortunately, he gave up 5 runs. And kind of makes you wonder, Mike, like starter mentality versus having an opener and then him coming in. So maybe if they had just let Kenny start from the beginning, it could have been a much different game.
You said Detmers was sick, and I was like, yeah, we've been sick. We've all been sick.
We've all been sick. He wasn't sick, bro. It was sick.
Yeah, it's been a sick season. Phil Nevin had a interview with Sam Blum after this game and asked about, another losing season. And he said, it stinks. You come out here every day to do our thing, and we know who we are right now. I get that, but it doesn't take away the fact that losing isn't fun. Like I said, we come in here every single day to prepare to win, just like we did in the first half when we were playing well. Obviously, we look a little bit different right now. Guys are getting some opportunities that they may have not had before. And it's not where we planned on being at this time, but it is what it is. We owe it to our fans, to everybody, to the game, to come out and do everything that we can. Translation, not my fault. Injuries. It's been injuries. And I get that, and you can blame the injuries, but I think that the reality of this team, when they had the pieces in place at the trade deadline, and then falling apart, that's on Phil. That's on Phil and his leadership. That's on Matt Wise and his leadership. That's even on Marcus Timms. I would even say it's on Perry Manassian. They have not utilized the players and the opportunity that was in front of them.
And, I made that video last week of all the injuries the Angels have dealt with this season, just to highlight how ridiculous it's been. But don't take that as an excuse.
Right.
Because from the top down, we knew this was coming. Yep. We knew that they weren't going to be able to sustain it because the coaching can only take them so far. You've said it before, the talent can take you so far, then the coaching has to pick up the rest. And when you can't have cohesion, when you can't have a clear message from the top down, when you can't have a specific goal in mind or a collective strategy against another team, the Angels are all over the place this season. And so when we talk about the ridiculousness of the injuries, I just wanted to point out how ridiculous it is that Gio Urshela was running down first base and falls and cracks his pelvis. That's the kind of what bad juju is over the Angels when that happens. But yeah, the injuries on top of injuries doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
But it's only going to take you so far if management and coaching doesn't have cohesion. And that's what they ran into. The Angels played well despite themselves for the first half of this season. And when the injuries stacked up, everything started to unravel, Mike. And I think the coaching got exposed by the end of the season. And here we are, another losing season in the books. I'm looking forward to, the season being over so that we can find out who's not going to be here next season.
We need to celebrate those fans. They're still showing up. So good on you fans. These fans, Angel fans, deserve a winning team. They deserve a winning organization, and they should not be blamed, nor should they have to take garbage because this team is garbage right now. Correct?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Don't listen to Rendon. He doesn't care. And just sorry, Tiny.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Angels play on Tuesday against Tampa Bay at 3:40, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Instagram as well. We got all the latest breaking news there as we were tweeting throughout the weekends, trying to keep up with everything. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
John, I want to share one thing. One thing the Guardians did with Lucas Giolito that proves, and we already know this, but it proves that the Halos coaches are just not paying attention or they don't know anything. I'm going to share that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Can you say proves one more time? That was good.
Proves.
I love it. All right, friends, thanks for being here. We'll be back here tomorrow. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
I yelled a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Go rest that voice. We got
Stop
another
yelling.
show to do tomorrow.